Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you something that is absolutely crazy. And all the elite sprinters that I compete against are going to hate me for telling you guys this secret. In this video, I'm going to show you how I overcame my plateau of running 10.7 to running 10.08 in just 3 short years. But that's not all. I'm also going to share how the athletes that I'm working with are getting similar results in the exact same time. Go through the exact steps that I use to achieve success, highlight the key areas that you need to focus on, and share a comprehensive year-long training plan that you need to focus on if you want to dominate this track season in 2025. Plus, I will reveal a proven method that we developed called the Protect the Dream method, also known as PTD. This is a proven system that gives you a step-by-step plan for reaching peak performance. So stick until the end because you don't want to miss this blueprint so that you can crush your goals in 2025. And not only did I get faster, but so did Sammy.
I'm about to break 12 seconds, which is like a crazy goal for me. I remember like that was my main goal when I first started. It's already happening a month and a half in.
Sammy went from not even getting the attention from his high school coaches to all of his friends and teammates begging to try his workouts because they couldn't believe how faster he got in just 45 days. He went from 1265 to 1207. I also helped Caden.
I feel the strongest I've ever been, no doubt. I feel fast. I feel explosive. Like me and my buddies, we were playing backyard football the other day, and there's this one short little kid that just the most explosive kid you'd ever meet. He's an insane wrestler, and like he used to like beat me on those short little like slant routes and outs and stuff.
Yeah.
And me and him lined up across from each other, and I was beating him on those, and I was like,
Caden came to us struggling to improve his acceleration. We improved that acceleration without him even training on the track. We helped him go from, struggling, running as hard as he can to try to PR, to him jogging to almost his PR with only training in the weight room. And he almost jogged his PR by training less than 90 minutes a day. And check out Charles.
I think I've just from like 0.4.
Wow.
So that's 0.5, 0.4 even. I think
that
was
crazy, right?
yeah, that's crazy. And we, like you said, I've been there for long, but I've only been there like for 2 months. So
Yeah.
that's really insane to have those results in only 2 months.
He came to us because his speed ultimately plateaued, and he was working with someone that wasn't a sprint speed specialist. He was working with a general strength coach that had a speed program. But within just 2 months of joining our group, he dropped his 60-meter time by half a second. Now look at my guy Judd.
My performance now, I just feel like it greatly improved. My struggles was with my drive phase and I like crashing. But now I feel like super strong. Like looking at the videos, like I'd get off the block and then like my ankle would collapse, and then I wouldn't be able to push. And then looking at it now, it's like my ankle lands, it looks hella stiff. So then I'm just like hella pushing. And I feel that too when I'm running. Like I just feel stronger. And yeah.
Judd lacked that extra guidance, to truly unlock his speed. He dropped his time from 767 to 719 before we even got into true speed work training. And it doesn't stop there. Bobbin, he went from plateauing for over a year in his triple jump to breaking his PR in just 3 months without having access to a track or a runway. Yes. So he broke his PR on the very first meet without ever even getting on the runway. But also, here's Andrew. He was working a job. He was a 3-sport athlete in high school. And he came to us, started training, and was able to make it at a D1 school at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And guys, this is Joseph Cannon. He joined our group, and within 3 months of his sprint speed analysis, he went from 11.2 to 10.4 in just 3 months. Before we hop into the video where I tell you the exact step-by-step blueprint on how the PTD method works, I'm just going to take a couple seconds, guys, to tell you a high-level overview of my story. Some of you may know me, some of you may not, but I've been sprinting for over 15 years. High school, I became a state champion in track and field, but my speed ultimately ended up plateauing for about 4 years. It was frustrating, to say the least, but I stayed determined to find a way to break through. In college, I ended up earning a Division I scholarship to play running back at the University of New Mexico, but also to compete as a dual sport athlete in football and track and field. So balancing two sports while working two jobs, it wasn't easy, but I wanted to challenge myself. But at the end of the day, my confidence ultimately took a huge hit during my freshman year. I realized that I needed to reassess and realign my goals at the end of the day. But after redshirting my freshman year, I began to slightly regain my confidence, only to ultimately face, unfortunately, a season-ending injury that year. So that was one of the lowest points in my journey, but I refused to give up. I worked harder than ever and committed to making a comeback that not only allowed me just to be as fast as I was before, but ultimately faster. My hard work paid off. When I returned stronger. I won the conference meet in track and field that year. And that moment ultimately just reignited my passion, my drive. That ultimately led me to transfer back home to Wisconsin to solely focus on track and field. And winning that conference meet at New Mexico was ultimately just the beginning, because at Wisconsin, I broke the school records in the 60, the 100, and 200, became a 6-time NCAA All-American, and earned a spot on Team USA for the 4x1 relay and won a gold medal. So my journey has taught me that setbacks can be the springboard to greatness. Now today, as a professional track and field athlete, I've dedicated myself to coaching and empowering athletes to reach their full potential. Through my coaching experience and growing an online community and the partnerships and my teammates and even my coach, we focus on providing real value, whether you're just starting or you're striving to ultimately go pro one day. So to all the athletes out there, we all have our own path. We have our own path full of unique challenges and setbacks, but every obstacle is part of your story, and victory and growth ultimately comes from pushing forward no matter what. So remember this one thing. Yesterday is gone and tomorrow isn't promised, but today is a gift. And it's ultimately up to you to maximize it, to overcome every challenge and protect your dreams. Keep pushing forward and absolutely never stop. All right, so if you actually want to train for speed, you gotta, at the bare minimum, cover these different phases of training. The very first phase of training that you need to incorporate is your general preparation phase. The whole focus here should be develop a broad-based general fitness, strength, and work capacity. You need to build an aerobic capacity to support your recovery. You next want to be able to develop basic strength and coordination. You want to also improve your flexibility and mobility. Some of the training components that you want to make sure that you're focusing on in your general preparation phase will be just your general strength exercises. Next, you have your circuit training. You also want to include some tempo runs, some sub-maximal runs for conditioning and recovery. You also want to incorporate core and stability work and technique drills. The real nuggets in sprint training, the real gold, isn't just from going out to the track doing random workouts, right? It's about doing the right things at the right time. You have to do your general preparation. Do not skip over this. Then you want to begin doing some specific preparation phase training. So the focus is you want to transition from general fitness to sports specific fitness with greater emphasis on speed and sprint mechanics. So some of the goals, you want to improve sprint specific power and explosiveness. Then you want to refine your mechanics, such as your acceleration, top speed, or your actual rhythm of running. And then the next goal you want to try to accomplish is increase your sprint endurance demands for your race specific demands. Some of the training components would be just doing some more drills, right? But focusing on these drills under fatigue, such as A skip, B skips, or even bounds. Then you move into some of your acceleration training. This can be done as sled sprints or short sprints. Then you want to move into some maximum strength lifts and explosive lifts. So that's what your strength training. And then you want to make sure you're incorporating your plyometrics, for power development. And you want to have continuous use of your tempo runs to help for recovery, but also help build that aerobic base. After you move from your specific preparation phase, then you want to go ahead and get into your pre-competition phase. So, right, the focus here is peak power and speed development. You want to do this while reducing your overall training volume. The goals that you want to get accomplished, you want to be able to develop maximum speed. So when you're out there doing your first week of training and you're doing your max velocity runs, or you're doing some top end runs, you're ultimately skipping the other two important phases instead of going straight to these maximum velocity runs. Make sure you're incorporating these other phases so that you aren't plateauing or getting hurt or not getting the true gains that you possibly can from sprint training, right? Then you want to fine tune competition mechanics and also have a race model. If you're going to the track and you don't know exactly what your race model is or what you should be trying to get accomplished during your race, you're ultimately setting yourself up for failure. And then the next goal is that you want to ensure proper recovery for maximum performance. Right? Don't go to the track and try to sprint every single day, right? We want to ensure maximum recovery so that you can ultimately have maximize your performance. And then some of the training components of your pre-competition phase. Some things you probably want to do, flying sprints, some top end speed work, your short sprints with high intensity. Then you're going to go into your neuromuscular drills to help improve reaction time, but also your efficiency as a sprinter. And then you also want to reduce the frequency of heavy strength training to avoid unnecessary fatigue. And then you want to stimulate race condition with time trials, right? This is also a very important phase that we don't want to skip in training. And then we have our competition phase, right? The focus here is to achieve peak performance during competition by balancing intensity and recovery. And this is really what separates the good coaches from the bad, right? The good coaches can have you run your fastest when it matters the most, right? If you try to maintain your peak by just doing random things in all these other phases over here, you're ultimately going to get hurt and you're going to plateau at some point in the season. But the whole goal is at the competition phase to maintain speed and power without overtraining. You want to maximize your performance during your races. And some of the training components that's often used are your high intensity sprints, such as acceleration and race specific distances. You also want to have reduced training volume with strategic recovery days. You truly want to be minimal in avoiding heavy lifting because these will ultimately have interference with sprinting. And then you want to have tactical preparation and mental rehearsal, right? These tactical preparations and mental rehearsal are vital to sprinting. And then the final phase is your transition phase. You want to focus on recovery, mental refreshment. You want to focus on recovery and mental refreshment. At the end of your competitive season, right? The goals is to allow for your physical and mental recovery from the competitive phase. You want to address any imbalances or injuries, and you also want to maintain a basic level of fitness. So don't go out after the season going getting fat, sitting down, at least maintain a basic level of fitness. And some of the training components that you can do in this transition phase would be maybe just some light general fitness activities, such as your swimming, your cycling, or light jogging. Any of the cross training of that sort. You have your mobility and flexibility work, and then you want to gradually reintroduce your strength training and other basic drills. So, guys, these are just the phases of training. And if you aren't going through these phases of training appropriately at the right time of the year and have it diagnosed exactly to the components that you need for whatever you need to work on, then you're ultimately just I don't know an analogy for it, but you're just shooting in the dark. You don't have a true target, you don't have any true training components, and you're going to do yourself a disjustice in the long run. So let's go move into some of the key training principles that you need to have in order to maximize your sprint training in 2025. So the goals, right? You want to have a high-low training system. You want to alternate between high intensity sprinting and lifting days and low intensity tempo runs, such as your recovery activities. These days help you maximize recovery and avoid burnout. You want to have a progression plan. You want to gradually increase in intensity and complexity throughout each of the training phases that we just discussed. And then you want to have an emphasis on recovery because recovery is such a critical component of performance overall. If you aren't recovering, you're not going to perform. And then individualization. right? You want to adjust training based on the athlete's needs and strengths and weaknesses. So if you're following a generic training plan, and it's not individualized to your exact needs, you're ultimately not going to have your strengths addressed or your weaknesses addressed. So these are the key principles, but let's go a little bit more detail so you can understand these and you guys can go ahead and implement these blueprints today. So high, low intensity of a weekly sprinting structure. Now this is different depending on what phase of training you're in. But for example, Monday would be your high intensity day. That would be something such as a focus on maximum sprints and your weight room. Focus on, power and overall strength. Tuesday would be your low intensity day, such as a tempo run, mobility circuit, or recovery work. Wednesday will be another high intensity day. That'd be focused on sprint mechanics and heavy lifting again. Thursday, another low intensity day, some tempo runs or light circuit training. And then Friday, a high intensity day, flying sprints, and also pair that with explosive lifting. And then Saturday would be your low intensity day again, recovery activities such as general fitness as well. And then Sunday is a complete rest day or light activity. So this is the weekly structure of how you'd want to do high and low intensity training. High intensity days, right? You want to focus on maximizing effort for a high intensity day. So let's dive even deeper on these key principles. For your high intensity days, you want to focus on maximum effort activities that will stimulate your CNS, your central nervous system. That's going to help you promote explosive power development. So, just a couple examples for you guys. Sprinting at 90 to 100% intensity, such as fly sprints, block starts, acceleration work. And the distances can generally range from 20 to 400 meters depending on the focus, right? It all depends on the focus. And then in the weight room, heavy strength exercises such as your squats, your deadlifts, or power cleans. You also want to focus on some explosive lifts and plyometrics, such as your depth jumps or box jumps. And other activities that are high intensity would be such things as medicine ball throws, maximum effort bounding or hurdle hops, right? And then training guidelines. Your sprint distances should focus on quality, not quantity. Make sure you rest long enough for full recovery. For example, um, if you take 2 to 5 minutes for sprints under 60 meters. Then we have strength training. You want to emphasize compound lifts with heavy weights, 3 to 6 reps, 3 to 5 sets. Do not be in a weight room focusing on hypertrophy training. And then the frequency, right? High intensity days are typically 2 to 3 days a week. For example, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And these are the key training principles in low intensity days. These days need to focus on recovery and aerobic based development without taxing the CNS. You do not want to tax the central nervous system on your low intensity training days. An example of this would be a tempo run, 8 to 12 100s, 60 to 75% effort, 45 seconds rest. You can even take longer rest than that, right? And then general fitness would be mobility work, some dynamic stretching, yoga, foam rolling. And then, you also can incorporate some core stability such as planks or bird dogs and other great low intensity activities such as swimming or cycling. Circuit training with light weights or body weight exercises also work perfectly fine. And then the training guidelines. You want to focus on rhythm, guys. You want to focus on relaxation and volume rather than intensity. So that's another key differential. When we're in high intense days, it's opposite. You want to focus on quality rather than quantity. But on the opposite of low intensity days, you can also focus on volume rather than intensity. High intense days, quality over quantity. Low intense days, you can increase the volume rather than increasing the intensity. Your heart rate should try to remain below 140 to 150 beats per minute to ensure it's truly low intensity. And then for frequency, 2 to 3 times a week. Another example of this would be Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. But with all of those things in mind, if you have the perfect training plan, if you don't incorporate the pillars of speed, you're ultimately going to be at a disadvantage. The pillar speeds is something that I've accumulated with my great mentors and my over 15 years of sprinting knowledge. That if you're plateauing, you're ultimately missing one of these pillars of sprinting success. So let's dive deeper into these pillars. So, step 0 will be to put God first. I'm a firm believer that if you put God first and you put Him truly at the beginning, not the end or in the middle of all of your plans, if you put Him at the beginning of your plans, He will direct your path if that's what He wants you to do. So, the very first step is you must put God first. Step 2 of implementing these pillars, you need to work with a sprint speed specialist. For example, if you drove a Ferrari, you could get it, taken care of at a Honda dealership. They might be able to fix your Ferrari if something went wrong. And there's a chance they probably could diagnose it. Or you could go to the Ferrari dealership, right, that specializes in everything about a Ferrari. So all strength coaches aren't sprint coaches, and all sprint coaches aren't strength coaches. And that's why we developed a team so everybody can be their own specialist. But the very first step you need to do is to find you a sprint speed specialist. And then step 2 of the pillar, ignore step 3, right? But step 2 of the pillar is that you need to develop an elite mindset, right? An elite mindset allows you to be calm in the eye of a hurricane. Hence this picture. As you can see in a hurricane, it's all kind of chaos going around it, right? You got the wind, you got the different warm temperatures, right? The low pressure, the high pressure, and the huge storm that's going on. But in the eye, it's calm. And that's what you need to have in the mindset of being elite. You need to be calm in the eye of a hurricane with no matter what's going on around you, right? Last second, last 5 meters of your race, are you going to stay calm and execute, or are you going to start to panic? If you feel someone get out on you on the block, are you going to get tight in the race? Or are you going to stay calm and execute what you were planned to do? You must have an elite mindset to stay calm in the midst of a hurricane. And then step 4, you need to have a recovery plan geared towards high performance, right? So this is red light therapy. This is a cryo chamber, right? And everything doesn't have to be this level of high tech, but if you don't have a bare minimum recovery plan geared towards high performance, you are ultimately leaving speed on the table, right? So we got to make sure that we're covering all of these pillars of performance. And then number 5, your nutrition, right? You ultimately fuel yourself, right? What your fuel is what you're ultimately going to get out. You put bad fuel in, you're going to get bad fuel out. So what you need is a nutrition plan tailored directly towards you and your specific sprint goals, right? And not just tailored to you at the certain random time of the year. The goal is that you want to peak your body the same time you want to peak your speed. So if you want to be at 6% body fat, you want to be at 6% body fat the time it matters the most. So you want to periodize your nutrition the same way you'd want to periodize all the different training phases that we talked about earlier in this video. And that also brings up a good point. Every single one of these pillars need to be periodized so that they can be used at the right time. You don't want to just ice bath all year, right? You want to have a specific plan on how you're going to recover so that when you need your body to fully be recovered the most, that you have a proper periodized plan for that. Same thing goes with the mindset. You need to periodize your mindset training. And then step 6, one of the most important steps that you can take. You need to have a way to truly get in-depth analytics on your movement as an athlete. So as an athlete, if your coach at the bare minimum isn't filming your reps, isn't giving you visual feedback of what you're doing wrong, then you're ultimately going to struggle because you can't even see nor feel the corrections that you need to make. Now, the athletes in our group, we give them in-depth analytics like these, where we can get, their explosivity score or their technique score or their elasticity score, where we measure their top speed in meters per second, their 10-meter split. We get their step velocity, their distance of center of mass at touchdown, right? We get their shin angles over time. We get their foot placement relative to their center of mass, right? So these are in-depth analytics that's analyzing your movement. If you aren't getting at least the bare minimum, like I said, just your coach filming you so that you can see what you're doing wrong and you try to implement new movement strategies, you're ultimately going to be leaving speed on the table and you aren't actually getting coached. You're just being told what to do. So now you know, right? Just an elite sprint training plan will take you far, but to get actually over the hump to sprinting success, you need to put God first. You need to find your sprint speed specialist. Then you need to work on your mindset, your movement, your recovery, and your nutrition, and that will allow you to have your sprinting success. So these are all very important pillars of speed, right? You need to incorporate these pillars of speed on top of a customized sprint training plan so that you will never plateau as an athlete. So by now, you're probably realizing that speed training alone is hard. But when you try to add in the rest of the pillars, it gets even more difficult. But what if I told you that my team and I could completely solve the biggest issue, guidance, and that my team will work with you on a one-on-one basis, giving you the exact blueprint customized to your exact needs? I mean, even the greatest athletes in the world or the history of all sports had a great coach working with them on a one-to-one basis. So I'm excited to announce to you guys that in 2025, we're going to open up spots for people to join our Protect the Dream group for one-on-one speed training. But this offer is only for those athletes that are in our free sprint community called Sprint University. Now, it's pretty clear. There's only one way to actually get faster. And trust me, all of us elite sprinters already know this. It's not a random 6-week training program or even a random 12-week training program. There's only one way to actually get faster. And trust me, all of us elite sprinters know this, that it's not a random 6-week training program or a 12-week training program that some random coach, honestly, that barely ran at a high level himself. It's from working with someone who has already done exactly what you wish to do, and that they will give you the exact step-by-step blueprint for you to do it as well. So in our Protect the Dream group, this is what you're going to get. You will receive one-on-one guidance from a professional coach who tailors strategies to your unique strengths and areas for improvement, ensuring for your reach of full potential. In our Protect the Dream group, this is exactly what you're going to get. You're going to receive one-on-one guidance from a professional coach who tailors strategies to your unique strengths and areas for improvement, ensuring that you reach your full potential. Through that personalized coaching, you're going to get tailored sprint plans. You're going to get customized training plans designed specifically for your goals, whether it's just improving your sprint times or enhancing your acceleration or even just mastering your block starts. You will also get access to our exclusive athletes of community. You'll also get access to our exclusive athlete community. You'll join a supportive community of driven athletes where you can share your experiences, gain motivation, and access to exclusive content and resources and peer support. You're going to benefit from a structured, goal orientated coaching that helps you achieve measurable progress in your speed and overall athletic performance. You're going to receive continuous expert feedback that's going to allow you to analyze your form, your technique, and performance. Ultimately going to allow you to get real-time adjustments so that you can see faster results. You're also going to get comprehensive support. You're going to be able to enjoy a holistic approach that not only improves your speed, but also addresses your nutrition, your recovery, your mental preparation, giving you the true complete edge over your competition. And on top of that, you're going to get daily communication and accountability. So guys, if this video helped you at all, you have two options. You can either leave this video right now and try to implement all of these pillars on your own on top of those training phases that you need to hit in order to achieve your sprint goals this year. Or the second option is you can apply to see if you get accepted into our one-on-one training group. Only way you can do this is by clicking the link in the bio and going to our free sprint community. Or you can book a call with my team inside that free sprint group community to see if there's any way that we can possibly help you. All you have to do is join our free sprint community and book an onboarding call from there. Either me or someone on my team will give you a 15-minute call where we might look a little deep into your whole situation so that we can point you in the right direction. But even if you aren't accepted into our Protect the Dream training group, at the very least, you will still get access to a ton of free materials in our free community. And that's where I'll break down all of the pillars in more detail. And plus, you'll have access to a group of sprinters all working together, trying to get faster for free. Literally zero risk whatsoever. The bare minimum is that you still get free value working with a bunch of other sprinters.